I want to give a special thanks to University of Phoenix for sponsoring this revisited video. I'm actually going back to school for a 5-week course to strengthen my cybersecurity game. University of Phoenix waived all fees for the course I'm taking. If you want to learn more, make sure to stay tuned till the end.
So there's been a lot of talk and rumors surrounding the iPad Pro line. Presumably it's going to go bezel-less with the notch like the iPhone 10 did. But I wanted to go back and sort of look at the iPad Pro as it exists right now, specifically a 12.9-inch one. It's been over 2 years since I reviewed it. If you guys didn't see that review, we'll link to it up here and down below. Essentially, I took it with me on a European trip to essentially use it as my only computer. At the time, Apple was saying this could replace your computer. My conclusion, spoiler alert, was it's nice, it's a big iPad, and it's not worth the price. So now, over 2 years later, Apple has sort of started to fulfill that vision of the iPad being a computer, despite my internal hatred for that "what's a computer" commercial. So I wanted to revisit the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and this is the current gen version. So the iPad Pro came out, the biggest limitation to what it could do wasn't hardware or specs, it was iOS itself. iOS 9 just wasn't ready for what Apple wanted the iPad to be. iOS 11 brought a lot of features to the iPad, and a few noticeable things made the experience better overall. So we got things like the Files app. You could finally use an iPad like you could a laptop. You could go through and find where your files were located. But perhaps the biggest one, and one of the largest reasons that I really couldn't recommend the first gen Giganto iPad Pro, is it didn't really have true multitasking. You could sort of multitask and pick different apps, but iOS 11 brought side-by-side multitasking to the iPad line, and that brought really good functionality, things you couldn't do before. If I had to live in just one app at a time, then it might as well just been a gigantic iPhone, which is pretty much what it was. So all the software stuff aside, another big knock when the iPad Pro came out was price. It was crazy ass expensive, coming in around $1,000. Apple slashed the price now. You can get a brand new 64 gig version for about $799. So that's alone is a much more appealing reason to consider an iPad Pro. I haven't bought one since that first gen came out. I didn't see a reason. So probably wondering why I've got this one here. Sometimes we use a teleprompter in the office for videos, for scripts, and the smaller iPads that we had weren't cutting it. So I wanted to try the bigger iPad Pro, presumably a bigger screen to make a teleprompter setup easier. So when we picked it up to use as a prompter, I started to just use it at home, use it as I did in my old iPad. I started to come to the realization that it's improved, and my initial thoughts were wrong, or at least no longer valid, since the software has changed quite a bit, to the point where I don't really want to give this away and use it as a prompter, although I probably will. So a couple awesome things here that have changed since the first gen. Obviously the hardware still looks the same, but the 120 Hz screen is nice. It's really not a deal breaker. When you turn the screen on, you realize that it's still Apple's older design language. It's the iPhone 8 and older design language here. In fact, it's got a 77% screen to body ratio. And if I was a betting man, I would say a surefire bet is that it's gonna go the way of the iPhone 10. Like I said, those bezels are going to be gone, as is the home button. But despite being an older design language, it's still a really elegant tablet, and one that I've absolutely enjoyed using. The last bit about the iPad Pro, Apple talks a lot about the pencil, and I'm not an artist, I don't draw. I see very little need for the Apple Pencil. It still seems ridiculous to me that to charge it, you have to plug it in. It makes no sense. There's no place on the iPad to store it. I've lost 2 of them. There was a long issue for a while where if you missed a firmware update on the iPad Pencil, essentially would brick it. I'm not a fan of it. I think it is unnecessary, but it exists. And if you want it, get it. Apple's not forcing it on you, so I guess that's a nice way to have the choice. But the point of this video is just to say, if your opinion on the iPad Pro is based on the first gen, like mine was, once I tried that first one, then I sold it, I never even thought about the 12.9-inch iPad Pro ever again, you might want to reconsider it. It's a much better experience. Then when iOS 12 hits mainstream and actually is released, it's going to get even better. And that's sort of the nice thing about Apple software updates. They generally tend to get better. And we're closer to the vision of the iPad as a PC. We're not there yet, but we're much closer than we were 2 years ago. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I'm going back to school. It's been now about 7 years since I graduated graduate school, and things have changed quite a bit. Techno Buffalo has evolved. If you're following the site or following me for years, you will know that our site has been hacked. There's multiple attempts pretty regularly, and I've tried to thwart a lot of those, but the problems that I kept running into was, in all candor, my own ignorance. I don't speak the language of cybersecurity, so I had to rely on others that knew it to try and fix it for me, and I just had to sort of hope that they were doing their job, putting up safeguards to make sure that my information is safe, your information is safe, and that the site can stay up and everybody can keep working. So University of Phoenix reached out to see if I was interested in working with them. I said yes, but I really wanted to be on internet and cybersecurity, since that is paramount to running my business, my small business as an entrepreneur. Keeping my site up and running I cannot stress the importance of that alone. So I'm embarking on a 5-week course. I'm right now about a week or so into it, so still in the early stages, but I'm learning a lot. It's my first time taking an online course especially, so trying to learn how to use it and try to simulate the classroom versus a campus. I've been really impressed with the online platform, their eCampus. As far as the work that I'm doing feels very similar to being on campus, but I have the flexibility to take the courses and do the work on my own time. So if you're interested in the course that I'm taking or any other courses, we'll link to all this stuff down below. So those are my revisited thoughts on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. It's kind of a fun exercise to relook at a product I haven't really thought about in over 2 years. And I want to kind of keep this going, so if there's a product that you want us to go back and look at, even if it's been updated since then, let us know in the comments down below. We'll take a look at it, and hopefully this will be the first in a series of revisited style videos, like revisited a few years later style video. Give the video a thumbs up, we appreciate it. Until next time, I'm John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo, and you can't have my big iPad for a teleprompter. Sorry, Mark.